Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining me. It is Wednesday, the 21st of May. Still got the trusty green hand to help guide you and make sense of everything that is happening at the moment. And on the satellite map, the most dominant feature here is high pressure. Hard to kind of pick it up, but low clouds spinning anti-clockwise in the Tasman Sea. And where it's a bit brighter, that is the lower clouds standing out. So around New Zealand, we've got some of that along with fog patches and a few showers clearing the far north and also a few showers between Mahia Peninsula and East Cape. That is still caught up in the southerly flow between the eastern North Island and the Chatham Islands, and low pressure spinning to the east of the Chatham Islands over here. Now the rain around New South Wales, like I say, it's going to be moving southwards. So on the big picture, when you see the high pressure belt, you can't really see a lot going on in the southeast of Australia, but there is a bit of high pressure weakness here as the main high pressure zone over the Tasman moves closer to New Zealand, and the next one over South Australia takes a little bit longer to move on through. Now this belt goes from the southern Indian Ocean all the way along southern parts of Australia, the Tasman Sea, New Zealand, and then eastwards over the South Pacific all the way out to South America, and it spins all the way around the southern hemisphere like this. So we look for the weaknesses, big area of low pressure east of the Chatham Islands, and there's also a little bit of a weakness here between the high pressure system around South Australia and the one in the Tasman Sea. We'll talk about that in a second, but actually I want to show you something a little bit different. I got asked about this by a 777 pilot the other day on YouTube, asking if we could show the jet stream maps. So what is the jet stream? Well, there are two of them. The subtropical jet stream north of New Zealand and the polar jet stream south of us. Now these are about 9 kilometres above sea level, or 30,000 feet. So planes do fly through them. Generally they fly over them or under them because it's like a fast river moving through the atmosphere. So it's bumpy, you get more turbulence, and also if you're pushing into it, it's a headwind as you fly. That's why sometimes when you fly from Auckland to Sydney or Brisbane, your flight takes longer, sometimes by 45 minutes or more, if you're flying into that strong wind versus being taken along with it as you come on the way back. So it moves at an average speed of about 180 kilometres an hour, but it can reach 400 kilometres an hour. The strongest winds that you see on this map are in the purple and sort of whiter shading that you can see here through central parts of Australia. Remember, it's well above land, and also north of New Zealand, and then the polar jet stream to the Southern Ocean here, and you can see part of that around the lower South Island and the eastern sides of the North Island and the Chatham Islands. And that's the reason why you've felt that temperature drop over the days ahead. Let's have a look at the 7-day expected rainfall. Now, not very much for the North Island, where you see pink and white, those areas at the very bottom of the scale. So, no rain at all, no showers, or maybe just 1 millimetre or half a millimetre, not very much. I might actually change this map, the key at the bottom here, to sort of show 0.5 millimetres and above, not just 0. The reason why is it might highlight all these areas in pink when you might get, not even a noticeable amount of wet weather. So most of the rain coming up looks very autumn-like to me. You can see it over here on the west coast, over 200 millimetres, and most of that is coming next week from that system out of Australia. The North Island doesn't really show that rain because quite often, because the North Island is further east than the South Island is, if you go straight north of that heavy rain around the west coast, it is well west of the North Island. So it takes another day usually for the North Island to get the rain that the west coast gets first of all, and quite often temperatures are like that too. You get a big southerly change over the South Island and it takes another day to reach the North Island. Speaking of temperatures, overnight frost risk again tonight, although, for this time of the year, with high pressure rolling in, this is not very much of a frost risk. They might go a little bit further lower than this. Sometimes it doesn't pick up all the valleys, and some of the Canterbury Plains sometimes can get a little bit of it here and there, but generally it won't be very much of a frost, and similar story around the North Island. So that is overnight tonight going into Thursday. This is noon Thursday. Let's get into the forecast properly. High pressure. Now this is a really big belt of high pressure. When it connects up with that other one around South Australia, the H doesn't show when you zoom out as far here, but that is high pressure south of central parts of South Australia. Lots of souths in there. So as that all moves on through, that is the size of Northern Australia. Looks like a giant whale moving through, coming in over New Zealand, the Tasman Sea, and stretching out over to Western Australia. But there is this weakness that I talked about in the southeast of Australia. That's why that heavy rain in New South Wales slides further down towards Sydney as we go through Thursday. In the New Zealand area, pretty dry. A couple of showers maybe on the west coast, certainly around Fiordland. You've got a risk of a shower or two, but nothing too much. And the temperatures lift up a little bit in the lower South Island. That's why that frost risk doesn't extend really right down over much of Southland, because you'll feel that westerly wind flow, and that pushes out to Dunedin as well. By Friday, high pressure from the Tasman Sea that is moving in further over New Zealand. You can see a couple of isolated showers coming into the western North Island. Pretty isolated, won't be very much, and won't certainly add up to much. Same story around Fiordland. Otherwise, light winds, fog patches, maybe some frost through the interior of both of the main islands, but it won't be very much. Over in Australia, that weakness in the high pressure exists here on Friday in the form of a weak low pressure zone. So that is a little different to what we forecast the other day. Always said that wet weather could move around a bit, not going to be much for New South Wales. Let's go through to noon Saturday. So there is this large low pressure zone south of Australia. That is a little bit different to what we showed you the other day, and this matters for New Zealand in the sense that we're more likely to see severe weather coming into next week because of the size of this system. So the other day it was a smaller low pressure zone just south of South Australia. Now it is a much larger area of low pressure being stretched out further to the south. So that means it's got a little bit more impact as it moves eastwards towards the New Zealand area. And the high pressure system through here breaking up, a northwesterly flow out of Australia starts to move into New Zealand along with a subtropical airflow on the top of that high pressure belt. On Saturday, that slides down and starts to arrive into the lower South Island. So yeah, subtropical winds coming in this weekend. By Sunday, definitely you'll be feeling that right across many parts of New Zealand. Subtropical winds for many regions. Now, maybe not very subtropical coming in around Northlands and Auckland to begin with, but for the many parts of the country, as you go down the country into the South Island, you track the origins of those isobars. They're coming up into the tropics here, or subtropics, I should say. So that'll be lifting up temperatures, plus it's a nor'wester, and we've got showers arriving on the west coast. And look at the size of this low, 967 hectopascals, not bringing in much rain because it's too far south on Sunday. But by Monday, for Australia, some good news for these dry areas. A wintry change comes in. So it's going to feel like autumn or winter, depending on how you look at it. But some windy, wet weather coming through, maybe a few thunderstorms as well, possibly severe for parts of Australia. On the other side of the Tasman, over where I am and where our New Zealand audience is viewing this, nor'west winds are coming up the country, moving up the South Island. And remember, they're partially subtropical, so still pretty warm for this time of the year. Heavy rain on the west coast, and we've got nor'westers blowing around the North Island. That'll be lifting up temperatures for those of you in the east in particular, but really everyone around New Zealand from Stewart Island all the way up to the far north will be experiencing temperatures above average by day and by night. And this big low on Monday is worth monitoring because by Tuesday now it pushes out to the Tasman Sea. And we've got a really big break in high pressure leaving New Zealand east of the Chatham Islands, northeast of the Chatham Islands. The next high pressure zone south of Western Australia. That's allowing for rain to fall in the northern half of Western Australia, maybe heavy with severe thunderstorms. Another thing to worth monitoring. So in between the high pressure zone around Western Australia and the high leaving New Zealand, we've got a lot of low pressure in the Tasman Sea. Looks like it's about 980 something hectopascals. So that's getting down into kind of like stormier weather. So we're going to be seeing, by the looks of it, heavier rain moving up the west coast, strong northwesterlies, still potentially a little bit subtropical coming in for parts of the country. So we've got a really sort of warmer than average burst of weather coming in this weekend and for the first couple of days of next week. But by Wednesday of next week, and remember this model could change. This could change because of the shape of the high coming in to Australia or the south of Australia and the high that's departing New Zealand. These are large systems and they only have to change shape from being kind of like a rugby ball lying on its side or a rugby ball that is about to be kicked. That changes everything around the airflows for New Zealand. It can tilt them into different directions, and low pressure systems like this one, south of Stewart Island, 973 hectopascals on Wednesday next week. It's a whole week away, so that could still change. It might be south of the country, further into the Tasman, or might even get squeezed away by these two big high pressure systems if they join up closer. So there's still a lot of moving parts, but by the middle of next week, could be some severe weather in the form of severe gales, some isolated thunderstorms moving through, some heavy downpours, heavy west coast rain, and possibly some snow as well, at least for the alpine areas. We'll just have to wait and see what the southerly looks like afterwards. We'll know a little bit more in the weather updates we've got coming up, perhaps on Friday of this week, and obviously by the start of next week. So there we go. Quite a lot of things to cover today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully, I'm going to be back on screen soon. I'm still not quite there. It's not to do so much with how I look, still to do with how my mouth and teeth feel. And so still not getting all the words out sometimes too. Bit of a lisp kind of popping up every now and then. Anyway, hopefully back on screen soon. I really miss doing it. But thanks for all the support. Great to see that the green hand is working for now. Have a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow, Thursday, with our next update and also our Australia only update. We'll see you then.